Hi, everyone. Welcome to another event for San Francisco Zine Fest 2021, Cyberfest Rebooted. This event is our Q&A with our guest of honor, Tiny Splendor. This is the order of events. We have our intro for a couple minutes, then we'll go over some house rules and expectations. The voice you're hearing is of it's Anand Vedawala. I'll introduce myself and the artist, and then Tiny Splendor will present. And then we'll have a Q&A. If we have time, we'll take some questions from viewers as well. And then we'll just close out the event. San Francisco Zine Fest was founded in 2001 as a gathering place for writers and artists from around the world, but especially the Bay Area. It's typically held as a one-day event at County Fair Building in Golden Gate Park. Our 2019 festival had about 240 exhibitors and over 5,000 attendees. Due to COVID-19, our 2020 festival spanned 3 weeks and encompassed over 21 days of zine-related activities and was 100% virtual. San Francisco Zine Fest 2021 is a 9-day, mostly virtual fest with in-person workshops and some collaboration with local Bay Area bookstores. What is Cyberfest Rebooted, you may be asking? Well, as we mentioned, it's going to span 9 days from August 28th through September 5th. Tomorrow is our last day of events. We'll have exhibitors show and tells, readings, workshops, demos, interviews, etc. Artist zines this year will also be sold at local participating bookstores, and we'll talk more about that later. As you see on the left, that's our official festival poster. It was designed by Sana Khan of Tiny Splendor. And Tiny Splendor, as in the past 2 years, I believe, was able to invite 3 guests to be part of San Francisco Zine Fest. This year, they invited Ocean Escalante, Samantha Espinoza, and Tamiko Sidori. This is our Safer Spaces policy. It's something we ask that our guests, exhibitors, everyone abide by. We are committed to providing a harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of gender, gender identity or expression, or sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, or religion. We will not tolerate harassment at San Francisco Zine Fest events in any form. Individuals violating the Safer Spaces policy may be sanctioned or expelled from the space or the event at the discretion of any SF Zine Fest organizer. So basically, respect people's opinions, their beliefs, their differing states of being, and differing points of view. Always get explicit verbal consent before taking someone's photo or crossing other personal boundaries. Be responsible for your actions and be aware that they may have an effect on others regardless of your original intent. A safe and respectful community is everyone's responsibility. Our guidelines for Zoom: please keep your video off unless you are presenting. This will prevent lagging. Keep yourself on mute unless you are presenting. For presenters, if you have a question, ask in the chat. Chat will be available only for the presenters or panelists. Attendees may ask questions using the Q&A feature. Compliment each other in the chat or just say hi if you'd like. ASL interpretation is provided by Ashley Rodriguez and Selena Flowers of Pro Bono ASL. Be mindful for folks who are blind or visually impaired by being specific and descriptive when sharing your work. This webinar is being recorded and broadcast to Facebook and YouTube. Above all, please be respectful. Hey, I get to talk a little bit about me now. Anand is a queer South Asian artist, writer, and educator based in Oakland. He's currently a kindergarten teacher and one of the organizers of San Francisco Zine Fest. His self-published first book, 100 Years From Now, Our Bones Will Be Different, with artist Lawrence McWilliams, received a starred review from Publishers Weekly. In 2018, his zine Hair was awarded Best Zine and Best Per Zine by Broken Pencil Zine Awards. He is once again grateful, so grateful for other organizers and this year's volunteers. Thank you all so much. You can learn more about him, learn more about me on anandvedawala.com. And here are just samples from my work. Okay. Now, the main reason we're all here is to learn more about Tiny Splendor. Tiny Splendor started in 2012 as a tiny collective, traveling around, sharing their and their friends' artwork out of a small wooden fold-up gallery. They've since grown into two separate studios, one in Berkeley and one in Los Angeles, providing print and publishing services to artists locally and from around the world. They continue to pursue self-publishing and a love of ink on paper, producing print editions, zines, books, apparel, and more. Their Los Angeles studio is run by Cynthia T. Navarro. Their Berkeley studio, also called Max's Garage Press, is run by Max Stadnik and Sana Khan. And today we have Max and Sana with us. Here's a photo of the founders of Tiny Splendor, who Max and Sana will tell us more about later on. And a little bit more about Tiny Splendor. They also have monthly risograph workshops at both their LA and Berkeley studios. You can get a monthly studio membership to the Berkeley location or use the studio for a day. So definitely check them out on tinysplendor.com. And here from tinysplendor.com is where I grabbed some of these photos. So thank you all for providing those on there. We have one of, I believe, Max working and going through some prints by Unity Press. And just their office space and some of the other work that they had printed. Nope, not doing questions. I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna turn it over to Max and Sana. Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much. Thanks for introducing us and putting together those really nice slides.
I'm Sana Khan, this is Max, and we started with two other members too, who we'll talk about a little bit.
So we came up with a little baby slideshow that we're gonna screen share now, and we can check that out. And then we're gonna move from there to giving you like a really quick tour of our space, hopefully. And then we have a bunch of zine examples we might be able to show as well, time allowing. So without further ado, let's see. So this was sort of like the same photo you just saw, but different angle. And you can see the four of us here, left to right, Cynthia Navarro, Sana, Kenny Srividyakan, and myself. Kenny's sort of moved on to be primarily a tattoo artist, but he's still part of our Tiny Splendor family, so to speak.
And Cynthia runs the LA studio by herself and makes a bunch of amazing artwork down there with risograph printing. And the two of them moved from the Bay Area to LA about 5 to 7 years ago. But we all lived in the same neighborhood in Berkeley when we started and would just hang out and make art together. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit more about how we got started.
So originally, we sort of started our own press in 2011, which it's called Max's Garage Press. This is an old photo of the garage where it started. My grandfather built this auto shop in the 50s. That when he passed away, I ended up getting to move in there and just live there for free when we got out of school. And it's kind of like this warehouse space. It's located in San Rafael in Marin. But it's like this warehouse where I just started getting equipment and building things up slowly. This is before we moved out to Berkeley, which is our location now. But you can see here's like my early kind of studio with some printing stuff in the background. We're all kind of like litho nerds and print nerds and stuff, but we quickly gravitated towards zines and producing work that way because we could really share our friends' work and that sort of thing. So here's another slide. If you wanna.
So the four of us studied printmaking at UC Santa Cruz, and that's where we met. And I think we all fell in love with printmaking because it allows you to make unique multiples. So the work is original art, but it's also easy to make it accessible to a lot of different kinds of people, really affordable, and it gives you a lot of agency as a creator from start to finish of the process. So this was an early pop-up we did with friends in Dolores Park in San Francisco, where we just were trying to sell a bunch of prints we had made. And then we moved on to our first Tiny Splendor setup, which was built by Kenny into this little wood fold-out box where we would display zines. And at our busiest point, we were taking out this box like 2 or 3 times a week and just doing every pop-up opportunity we could to sell work and get our and our friends' work out there.
Yeah, like a lot of this was we would just pop up in the park or on the street or whatever we could do to like get things out, do it on our own, and just make our own venue. So you can see like this box folds up. We even put lights in it and things like that. And then later, this is our first table at SF Zine Fest, I think. So I don't know, it's kind of cool to show that.
And our thinking at the time was that we weren't really able to have as much success as we wanted post-graduating college with like getting our artwork out there into galleries or traditional art spaces. So we were just utilizing whatever resources we had around us, like access to screen printing or photocopying. And so here in this photo, we have dozens of different screen printed patches of designs that our friends gave us to print.
Yeah, actually early on, Sana was working in a screen printing shop and Cynthia was working in a copy store. So we were kind of utilizing those resources in the beginning. And then later we started getting our own resos and print equipment that we ended up kind of transforming into publishing with. But here you can see one of our first zine layouts.
So we used to just have friends over all the time, and we would spread out giant pieces of paper on our kitchen table at our apartment in Berkeley, and everyone would just doodle and draw all over it and hang out. And we scanned one of those large pieces of paper, which is this image right here, which has a bunch of weird scrawled doodles of like grotesque faces and tons of detail everywhere. And we color separated and simplified the colors into 3 different colors and screen printed it. And that was our first zine, which we chopped up and hand sewed. And
so yeah, we'll show you some more zines later. Here's another image of just an early fest where we had this little cat box that we found at a flea market, and we were like displaying our zines in that way. So we're always trying to be really creative with how we could present our work and make ourselves stand out a little bit. Let me keep going here because I know we don't have a lot of time, but this
You have
is
lots
also
of time. Take as much time as you need.
Thank
okay.
you.
I feel like we have so much to share, and anyways, this is our first reso, and we actually had that in our apartment in South Berkeley. And this is like it's hard to keep track of all the photos, but I just found this one of me like unpacking it, getting it set up. We really didn't know what it was, and it was more just about this machine being similar to a copy machine and being affordable. And so we just rolled the dice and got one. And this was around 2012, where we were really starting to kind of put out our friends' work and just like try to get that going in the world.
Max, I just had a question about that.
Yeah.
Can you explain, or can both of you explain a little bit about what is reso printing? Like you said, it's kind of like a copy machine, but why did you get this over, let's say, just getting a copy machine?
So we saw a random print actually at SF Zine Fest the year before, I think, that had the look of a screen print, but clearly was not a screen print. And we asked the tabler what it was, and they said it was a risograph. And so it's really cool because it can cut a stencil in a single color, much like a screen print. So it has that traditional printmaking aesthetic of ink on paper, but it's so quick and easy to use because it's designed for churches and schools and these high volume capacities like offices. So in that way, it's really easy to use and it doesn't cost a lot. And so it was a really cheap way for us to make work in color and make the jump from photocopying and screen printing to risograph. And we got super heavy into risograph since then.
Yeah, I think a big deal for us was just being able to produce work in color in volume. So like the reso on a fast setting can print 2 prints per second, which is incredibly fast. And it just allowed us to like, it's actually much cheaper than using a color copier. And it also kind of worked well with us because we have this background in print, and we were just really interested in like things like color separation and like how to bring artwork to people in an accessible way. And I think that zine making was one of the real first mediums we found to just start getting our work out there into people's hands. And we'll hopefully in a minute or two, I can actually show you one of the machines live, and it might give you a clear sense of like what's going on, because it really does just look like a copy machine, but it's kind of special inside. So we'll revisit that in a minute. It's moving along here. This is just showing like our apartment just turned into kind of overnight into like a publishing house. This is our friend Jeff Chung, and he just came over signing some zines that we printed with him. And a lot of it was really just like our friends, like things we thought were cool, things we thought would be fun to like put out in the world. Here's another one.
And just going back to that previous photo,
Oh.
Jeff and Gabe run an amazing press called Unity, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, but they're really awesome and they do their own reso publishing too and so much more. And then here is Max assembling some zines at our old apartment again by our kitchen. And that was how we were doing it for a lot of years. And here he is in this next photo in another room working on a red and black zine, I think, that we did together.
Yeah, so like our house just quickly transformed into a publishing studio and press, and it kind of consumed everything. Now we have this larger studio space, which we'll show you in a minute. But We also were just doing things like pop-ups in restaurants and bars and just like anywhere that would let us put our zines. And so here's a photo of just like this zine stand we made. And we also have this thing called a Wonder Emporium, which was like a vending machine that has these capsules in it that has little zines and like toys and fortunes and stuff. And we're just kind of like trying so many things out.
Um, so I think over the years, we've made a slow transition more from doing all these pop-ups and that kind of thing all the time to producing work that we do split editions with artists where they keep half and we keep half. And so here is just a grouping of a bunch of zines we published maybe like 2 years into working from home, from our home studio. Since then, like Max said, we've expanded into a separate studio, and we've also transitioned into doing more like gallery shows or collaborative murals. Like this is a picture at Classic Cars West about 4 years ago. We got the opportunity to do a big mural with a bunch of friends that we invited to paint on the walls. And we also got the opportunity to do a show at the Vincent Price Museum with Giant Robot, who we've always really looked up to because they do so much amazing stuff. And we got to build this zine hut and display a bunch of our zines there.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of different iterations, and I think we're always kind of changing and trying new things out. And this hut was cool, something that Cynthia made with her dad, like structurally. And then we all kind of came together and painted it, and we even reso printed wallpaper and stuff like that. And it's very like candy color kind of. And we just wanted to make this thing that could be sort of like in a gallery as a way to display things, but could also function as like an actual kiosk that we could then set up later on and display our work. So that's all the slides we have, but let me stop the screen share real quick. So let's see.
Thank you for sharing all that. I had a quick question about, you said you reso printed the wallpaper?
Oh yeah, so like we
What's that
just
process like?
created like a repeating pattern and then printed it with the reso and then just wheat pasted it like all on the insides of the hut. I should have included more photos of the structure itself, but it still exists. We have it in our garage right now, but it's so large, like, but you know, I don't know, you can really do all kinds of stuff with reso printing. And I think just its affordability allows it to be something that you can really experiment with. And I think that's what's really helped us grow and transform what we do. So now I'm gonna attempt to switch to a phone camera to walk around our shop a little bit. So
Awesome.
bear with me while we do that. I'm gonna mute this guy. Sorry, one sec.
No, you got this. It's great.
All right, can you hear us now?
We can hear you, and we see you also on the other device.
Okay, thanks for your patience with that. Maybe can we try to spotlight that? All right, so we're gonna walk around for a minute so you can see what we have, and I'll show you our studio space. Asana's being a camera wielder, and I'm just gonna walk around. We have this is a large screen printing table that people can use as a vacuum press. Here's one of our reso machines over here, and I'll just open it up real quick so you can see just what's going on. and get a quick sense of that. It prints one color at a time. Each color has a dedicated drum. So here's a green drum you can see. And it basically cuts a stencil into this film that gets wrapped around the drum. And similar to screen printing in how it looks, but it prints so quickly and there's no cleanup or anything like that. So the learning curve is really low, and I think it's a really great accessible medium, especially for zine making. So we have this machine and another machine that are open to the public for that. We also have bindery equipment, so we do all our binding in-house. This is a perfect glue binder, and then we have a saddle stitch stapler.
Oh, wait, can we go closer to the binding equipment, please?
Yeah.
Just because, yeah, we're just
Of course, it's
Thank
hard
you.
to see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do everything in-house. A lot of that is just because I was trying to outsource things and the costs were like so high that just buying the equipment myself was cheaper. So we ended up getting one of these guys, which anyone in our studio is welcome to use. As maybe was mentioned before, we are open to the public. We take membership, and anyone in here can use all that we have. We also have this little guillotine here, you know, nothing too special, but it's always useful. There's another Riso printer here that's also for studio access, and then all of our colored drums you can see. So there's a lot of color options for people. These machines in the back are kind of our personal ones that we use for all of our publishing projects. And then I'm gonna sort of take you guys upstairs real quick because you can see more of our traditional setup. We're very fortunate to have this large space now, as you can see, compared to our small apartment early days. You can sort of see back there briefly is our shipping zone. Like these days, because everything's virtual, we've switched to like selling online primarily. So follow me upstairs. And you can get a view from the top down is kind of cool as well. So you can see sort of a pan of our space. I'll just keep climbing up here. This upstairs area is more of our like traditional area, and we have litho focus, but we also have screen printing abilities, woodblock printing, etching, things like that. You can see these are some stones that are just works in progress right now. Again, our good friend Jeff, who runs Unity and Unity Skate, check him out. He's amazing. Goes without saying. We have a stone I'm working on with David Ryan, who's really cool as well. I've checked him out. His Instagram is make me feel like a swan. And then some other stones by Junebug, who is a friend as well. And you can see like each of these stones represents a different element that will go into a completed print image. And it's like this boy hugging this chicken, and I don't know, there's a whole story behind it. I'll walk you back here quickly. We have a few proofing presses, our dark room. Turn the light on, the red light exposure unit. And then let's just go over to the press room quickly.
Max, as you're going, I had a question about, do you all also offer workshops? Because it seems like you have an amazing space and you practice a lot of different techniques and skills.
We do. Primarily we offer Riso workshops, but I do also teach like a small woodblock printing class, and once in a while I do like a litho intensive workshop. Litho's pretty like difficult, so it's like you got to have like 4 solid days. But mostly we do reso workshops, but we're trying to get better. It's hard in the pandemic because just bringing people into the space like that, but hopefully we can get more back into our usual workshopping.
But we are working with one-on-one with
Oh, yeah.
new members. If they want to come in, we
Yeah.
can train them on the equipment and work with them
Yeah.
one-on-one.
Exactly. So anyone interested in joining, you don't necessarily need to know how to use this stuff. We will help you. We will hold your hand. We'll make you feel comfortable printing. So we do that a lot. But this is like our press room here. It's actually an original sign from the old garage that I stole when we moved out. And then here's our bigger, more traditional press that's used for litho, but also woodblock, lino cut, etching, these sort of things. So yeah, that's a really brief studio tour that I wanted to show you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the space is a lot bigger than an apartment, as you were saying before, like the space you had.
It's really true, and we've been extremely fortunate in that regard. And there's other things that we do that we haven't really talked about. Like we host an event called the East Bay Print Sale and things like that that helps us fund this location. And our membership fee, which is $60, goes into helping us maintain the space. But our primary goal is keeping everything accessible to people, and I think like having this be an open community space is the main thing that has allowed us to sustain something like this. And that's sort of like the nature of a print shop in a lot of ways. It just requires like a community of people to keep it going. So we're gonna head back to our setup here without too many technical difficulties. So let me turn that guy off. All right. Whoa. All right. Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Let's see. Okay, can you see us too?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, hopefully that wasn't nauseating walking around like that.
That was not. That was a treat. I mean, I've been to your place before, but I usually just walk down the steps and then I'm there. We talk briefly. I pick up prints and then I'm out of there. So I'm glad there's way more to the studio than I was aware of, and I got to see it now.
Yeah, we really thought it'd be cool to just see some of our workspace and how that goes. So do we have time to show a few of our zines?
We do. Go for it. We'd love to see them.
All right, so I'm gonna switch to another camera now. Hopefully we also don't have too much technical difficulty. Can you all see this? So Sana's gonna help by.
We can see it.
Cool. So this is just a zine I found, one of the first zines we made, which is a photocopy 8-fold zine called Puppies Make Me Smile, which was a bunch of drawings that I overlaid on scans of different textures. And so that was fun to come across when I was looking for stuff today to show. This is Rat Milk, which is based on the drawing of really detailed doodles that, like I was saying, friends came and worked on at our old apartment. And that was one of our first zines also, that was all silk screened and hand bound. One of our favorite things to do through Tiny Splendor is ask a bunch of different artists to collaborate on an anthology. So this was our first anthology zine like that. So it's printed in blue and red and black and is on a number of different colors of paper and has mostly illustrations by friends, some poetry, some paintings, some traditional printmaking. So what's cool about the Riso is you can really reproduce any kind of medium. And over the years, we've definitely gravitated more towards illustration and visual art.
Yeah, and you can see like some images in there look like a wood block or like a screen print or something like that. And this is what the RISA is really good at showing off.
I was
Um,
really, oh wait, I just had a question about, so all those inks, so you have to run it one by one, right?
Yeah,
'Cause, like there's,
exactly. It's one color at a time. Each color is cut into a stencil similar to screen print. And then we would like run it and put it back through the machine for each color.
So like this piece of paper, we printed red first and then we printed the black on top.
how do you make sure it's all aligned properly? I'm
That's
sure
a
there's.
$1 million question. Like that's something where RISA is a little bit like not great at. And it's like just there's some dials on the machine that we can turn and try to keep it aligned. But there's this kind of charm about the misregistration that's sort of part of the medium. But these are trade-offs for like how cheap and affordable it is.
And I mean, the final product always looks fantastic.
It's nice.
And speaking of RISO, also one of our exhibitors who's also watching right now, Kay Rodriguez, asked, "Hello, how expensive are the color drums?"
Oh, that's a good question. So, you know, we have a lot of equipment, which you can see. Originally, there wasn't a lot of people buying this stuff. I got most of our drums for like $50 a piece. But these days, it's everyone's trying to get those drums used or even going for between like $300 to $500 a piece. So,
Whoa.
you know, we keep talking about how cheap this stuff is. And like when we started, it really was like some of our first equipment RISA was like $250 and like the drums are $50 a piece. But now it's like you're looking at spending a few thousand for a machine and like 500 or so per drum, which is, you know, it's kind of a bummer, but that's why we're so happy to be able to open up our space to other people and give them access to this equipment that we've accumulated over the years. But also anyone who's looking to buy a machine and they want help, get in touch with us. We're happy to try to walk you through the process as much as possible.
This zine on the left is by Jeffrey Chung, printed as one of our first split editions with an artist in green ink, these green rectangle boxes with bodies drawn in a line drawing style inside. Max and I collaborated on this zine Psychosics, which is probably one of my favorites still, which was a collaboration of collages, like fantastical, weird, kind of pulpy collages. And all of these credits on the front page are different anagrams of all our names, which is kind of fun.
Forgot of it.
And these are all like collages of like fake advertisements and in red and black. And it's cool what you can do in red and black. If you overlap them, you get this like cool brown skin tone color, which I really like.
Yeah, I really think there's something nice about limiting the colors that you're working with, and RISA really helps with that. And it sort of makes a different aesthetic that like sometimes having these sort of limitations to work with then helps with creativity and producing this kind of stuff. Oh yeah, this is, sorry.
I didn't realize you could make skin tones the way you did. Like I thought, like, because I've often seen just prints with like colors that are separate. They haven't really been mixed, or maybe I just don't know the process, so I didn't actually see it. But so it's really cool that you were able to make like this.
Yeah, like this, I'll try to get closer. It's just red and black, and it's honestly a lot of just hours on Photoshop and trial and error. The more you do it, the more you realize like what different color combos and different textures will get you. So it's pretty fun. You don't need Photoshop and Illustrator to answer the question in the chat. You can print directly from the scanner bed too. So you don't have to have a lot of expertise, but we've just like built up this knowledge over the years. And like Max said, if you have any questions, feel free to email us.
And I think on your, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, just about like setting up files or anything like that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's also on your website as well about what kind of requirements you have and what people need to do to set up their files.
Yeah, like a lot of this stuff, especially what you're about to see, is going to look complicated. And, you know, we're kind of just like Photoshop geeks that like get real deep into this. But a lot of the stuff you just saw was all done on the scanner bed, all from like originals. And you can really do a lot with that. Like, doesn't matter so much like the technical side, it's more just like the content and that meaning for you. So this guy here is called Anime Fan Club, and this is a zine that I made with Kenny, the other founder, and it's just like a fanzine about anime. But a lot of it's pretty complex in terms of a lot of it's mostly illustrations that we did, but there's a lot of like color happening, and just like we really used like almost every color we had to make this. And it was pretty fun. And a lot of it's like 80s anime based. And then like I'm making like these kind of fake ads. Like I made this ad for like Riso and like the Kewpies like jumping out, which is kind of our mascot.
Oh yeah. The reason we're called Tiny Splendor, it was a name that Kenny thought of, which we all really liked because it was like small but mighty. You can do a lot even if you don't have big setup. And the Kewpie coincidentally kind of became our logo. So if you see like Kewpie dolls over all our stuff, that's kind of why.
So yeah, things like this look pretty fancy, but it really is just about spending time in Photoshop. It's a puzzle. Like this is like, there's a lot of dot patterns and things that are coming into play to create different colors.
And now, like when we started this, there really weren't too many people using the Riso to like make zines and art in this way. Mostly people are printing like maybe church pamphlets or stuff like that. Very simple, not very complicated with color separations. But now there are so many different presses like using the Riso in this way that Google has a lot of information that people post about how to prep your work and how to think in terms of like the separate colors and stuff.
Yeah, totally. And just like anyone, feel free to reach out. We're happy to be a resource for folks.
Thank you so much for showing all those. I mean, and you're showing more too. I just wanted to read one of the comments from our volunteers, Solitaire, which was also in the chat, but I want to share it for folks who aren't on the webinar area. It says, I miss seeing exhibitors' table setups in person. Tiny Splendor, love that cat box and all the different setups at different events in the day. I've always been drawn to your displays.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that. And, you know, it's something that when we can get back to actual events, would be cool to, you know, I think everyone misses that. So it felt nice to dig in and share that a little bit.
And I can keep, we have a lot of zines to share, but maybe I'll just share one.
I mean, you can keep sharing and I can just ask you questions throughout because this has been great. This was very informative and also just fun to look at.
Maybe Sana can just be flipping through zines and then you can start asking us questions. You have like too many zines. So.
This is a zine called Juicy Fruits I did with Angelica Colliard, Mary Angela Lathon, Leah Labrador, and it was all about butts and fruits, and Robin Milliken, butts and fruits drawings called Juicy Fruits. So it's really bright, like fun, colorful.
Yeah, but if you guys want to just chime in with questions.
One of my questions was going to be what inspires you, but I guess butts is one of the answers. Yeah, like what inspires your work? Because you both create work separately as well.
So yeah, we collaborate with a lot of different artists to publish, and we make our own work. For me, I love like animals, food, bodies, weird stuff, funny stuff, cute stuff,
Yeah,
inspiration found out in the world, like while thrifting or looking at old vintage stuff. I love frogs. The
yeah,
scene
that's
is
so
about
good.
like frog and frog feelings. Here's a frog sitting really uncomfortably on a ball that's about to move and saying, I'm perfectly comfortable, thanks. And
Yeah,
it says, I can be a sucker for punishment. Um, so I think we just make zines about like whatever imagery is floating around our heads because we're very visual people. Like a lot of my zines actually don't have that many words. Like this scene right here that I made called A Dead Bee Makes No Honey, except for the title page is mostly just black and white graphite and charcoal pencil drawings I did of like Bollywood actresses and animals and just like kind of these film noir kind of moments and like um, snakes eating another snake and a fly next to an eye.
It's
yeah,
just
I think,
amazing how often like just Riso looks so beautiful. Like, yeah, just that texture detail. It's awesome.
yeah, it really changed the game for us in so many ways. And I think a running theme is sort of like humorous things inspire us and just having fun with it and like coming up with a really simple concept and like fleshing it out.
This is a really nice zine that could be Riso or photocopy that our friend Louise Leong did. So it's a bunch of black line drawings of actual rude and funny and weird customers she encountered working at Lens Arts. So here's a crotchety customer, no coupon on top of sale items. That is so cruel. And there's so many good ones in here.
It's all like real, it's like retail reality that's pretty harsh and funny, if you know.
Maybe we'll show some of our newest stuff that we've been working on.
Yeah, we definitely learned. I mean, we definitely love to know like what are some new things that you two are working on, but also like new new projects that Tiny Splendor is working on as whole as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So here's
so-
new Tiny Splendor stuff.
So like last year when we were feeling very like isolated and unmotivated and there weren't the usual fests and fairs, it was hard to be like, when are we going to share this stuff with people in real life? So one of the projects that we organized was this Garfield zine where we asked a bunch of people if they're interested or had any connection to Garfield. And this is our friend Louise Leong's guide to how to draw Garfield, starting with two beans as the eyes, and then very simply working up to the whole face where it says, you did it at the end.
How many artists are in this one again?
So this Garfield zine is all comics and drawings by about over 60 or 65 different artists from all over the world. This one's by Ocean Escalante, who was one of our guests. A comic about her memories of reading Garfield and Garfield related products that she encountered. This is a really detailed, amazing comic by Krusty Wheatfield that's really fun to read about her memories of Garfield growing up. So it was really cool just how detailed and how much people put into their submissions for this zine. And it was a really great way to feel connected to a lot of different people over this project, as silly as it was, at a time that we were all feeling really disconnected. This is a really beautiful submission of this comic of by Single Pickles. And there was this story about how in the 80s or 90s, a bunch of Garfield phones got washed up on the shore of France.
Yeah.
And so people were finding Garfield phones left, right, and center all along the beach.
That's kind of what inspired this. Our friend Malek Zertal like told us the story, and it was like some container ship filled with Garfield phones, like lost a container. And they've been like trickling up onto this one beach in France for like 30 years or something.
Amazing what pollution will inspire.
Yeah, so we just thought the concept was pretty out there, and like it sort of spawned this whole idea.
This project felt really special to work on, and I was just so stoked how many people like put a lot into it. Like it's full of so many good ones.
And you know, there's so much color and stuff in this. Like we would not be able to do this without Riso in terms of affordability.
There's a little mess up one where it's off register.
That's kind of cool, actually.
I just love also seeing all the different art styles as well. These are fantastic.
Yeah, every year we try to do kind of like one anthology type thing where we try to just include a ton of artists, and like they usually have this kind of loose theme, something like this.
So that was one of the big projects we made last year, that we've mostly been putting out online and through some bookstores, and we gave some copies to each of the exhibitors as well to share however they like and to sell. And there's even some lasagna recipes in here, which I
really
think are
good
great. We made one of them and it was great. We have to try the other one now.
Wait a minute, I thought those were your lasagna recipes.
They're everyone's now.
Another really fun zine I worked on last year that kept me really grounded was this Worf zine, Worf from Star Trek, that me and my friend Mary Angela worked on together. So it's a bunch of drawings of the fierce Klingon warrior Worf and some comics of him doing stuff. And we both really relate to his character because of how stoic and serious he can be, but ultimately how silly he is for that. And just like a lot of his story arc is about not belonging and feeling like he doesn't fit in, but ultimately feeling like his friends still have his back at the end of the day. So this wordless comic was one that I drew and printed for the zine, and it was really fun. And we were watching a lot of Star Trek this past year.
Yes.
Yeah,
I tried watching, so I watched The Next Generation, and then I forget what the other one is after that.
Like
Deep Space Nine.
It's Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm still attached to The Next Generation. I was like, all right, I'll watch some of those. And I know it's supposed to be great, but I was like, I'm gonna go back to The Next Generation again.
Give it like a season and it'll
it gets better. And Worf is also on Deep Space Nine too. So.
We have another question. Someone saying, ooh, I have that one. Any more Star Trek zines coming out?
So actually, I love that you said that, because I literally have a little note in my phone about all these questions I have about Star Trek. Like why are there, I don't know. I just have so many questions. Like, why are there not more different kinds of aliens? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So
yeah, we were thinking about like making a zine of all the things we wish we saw in Star Trek that aren't there as much. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I'll have to think about that more and develop that.
What was that child Worf? That was adorable. That little.
Yeah, there's like this really good like chibi Worf.
I was like, it wasn't his son, but it's him. It's just.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Super
is
fun.
a Cupid version of Worf.
I'm just expecting a chibi version of him still being grumpy though. Like,
yeah, exactly, totally.
Where can folks, you've been showing a lot of work. Where can people buy these? Are these all available?
Online? Everything's available on splendormart.com.
Nice.
This is one that I was working on over the pandemic, one of a few, and it's a collaboration with Free Comics. You may or may not be familiar with, but they curated it and I printed it, and it's 2 of their volumes. So it's issue 9 and 10, and it's like this reversible comic anthology. And so there's a lot of different artists in here, and I was trying to get this I was actually trying to get this done for the San Francisco Zine Fest last year when I thought it might be in person, but then it just dragged on until it finally got finished earlier this year, but that's how things are going. But there's a lot of heavy color work in this.
But free
And
comics are amazing as well, you know, and
yeah, highly recommend checking them out. They do really cool stuff. And we were just really stoked to collaborate with them.
And then this zine flips in the middle, and because it's a double anthology of 2 of their last issues, so then it goes in the other direction upside down and you can turn it around.
And these you also provided. They're Mission Comics and Art. As
Yeah.
part of like exhibitors' works that are being sold at our different Bay Area bookstores.
Yeah, totally. We also have a lot of these available at Silver Sprocket and some other places around like that I think you're distributing with. Do you want to show either this or that?
About one last zine to
Yeah,
close
sure.
out. Yeah, I can't believe we're already at almost 5 o'clock.
I know. There's
That
too
was
many stuff. Which one?
I want to show this one, which is really cool. It's called Juventud. It's a collaboration Cynthia did with her really good friend, really sweet artist Frosh. And they're all really cool, like different outfitted queer characters. And I love the way that Frosh draws
Frosh is based
accessories
in
and
Mexico. I think Mexico City now.
yeah. And so Cynthia had Frosh do this residency in Tijuana over the last year, where he got to just draw all of this really amazing content for the zine. I definitely recommend you check out more of his work.
Yeah, he's amazing. So let me just switch the camera now. And if, I don't know, we have a couple minutes or however long, we'll stick around as long as you want, if you want to ask.
Of course. Well, I'm glad we're able to see each other's faces. And I also wanted to mention that Juventud is also, they provided, or their work is at Silver Sprocket as part of this year's SF Zine Fest related things that are being sold. We have a Q&A. Oh, that was also from All in TV from Saltaire. What about a Voyager for zine?
I'd be down to do
Yeah.
Voyager zine. I'll have to think about it.
You just scratched the surface with Worf, so it's a, you know.
So first of all, I wanted to ask, how are you two doing? How are you in the general sense of this pandemic, this day, this Q&A? How are you two?
Well, you know, I think we've been really busy, which we're fortunate for. It's, you know, kind of a stressful time for everyone, I think, and just trying to adapt to it. Like, we've been so used to having events like SF Zine Fest in person and other things, and we've had to just fully transition to online sales, which is going okay, knock on wood. But I'm mostly just feeling grateful that we have this and can share this. But
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like compared to this time last year, I'm feeling just like more motivated to work on stuff because things don't quite feel as unexpected, even though they still do in a lot of ways. And just like making my own art more has felt more grounding recently. So I'm really glad to get back into that because it was kind of slow for a while. I know for a lot of people, it was really hard to be motivated to be creative. And so
yeah,
it's kind of
totally.
nice.
Yeah. On my end, it may be a little noisy because it seems my partner has decided to take a shower now, and I'm sitting very close to the bathroom.
I'm not hearing it. No worries.
Oh, great. Then ignore all of those comments. What shower? No one's taking any showers. One of the questions that I would like to know is something as you as an artist, what are What are some media outside of zine and comics that you take inspiration from?
Hmm. I like watching a lot of old like B movies and things like that, and like horror movies. And I also collect a lot of like old magazines and books and stuff that I draw from. Um,
I
yeah.
like going to the grocery store and
Mm.
looking at food packaging, and just the
Yeah.
bright colors and the language of like commercial printing is really inspiring.
Yeah, there's so much foods we buy like just for the packages and stuff, just to like get even just for color or fonts or like whatever. Like sometimes I think about colors and how they mix, sort of like how appetite, like in a food kind of way. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely food, and comics, and yeah, everything you said about magazines and
Yeah.
just like found objects, and other artists, because so many different kinds of artists come through our space all the time. So we're really lucky to be able to see what they're working on and think of new stuff through them.
We collect like a lot of weird little like figurines and like cupies and like things that like I think help inspire us as we look around to like keep creating content, I guess.
Will we see food packaging from Tiny Splendor in the future?
Maybe we'll see. Maybe we can get like QP to spot QP Mayo sponsor or something.
Yeah, there you
That
go.
would be amazing.
The other question is, what is something, two-part, and when you don't have to answer it, one is, what is something you appreciate and like about your work? Because I think as artists, we're often just so critical of ourselves that we need to make time to just say something that we do like about ourselves. And then following that up with also, what's something you're too critical on yourself about?
That's a good one. For me, I think I'm very technically minded with things, and a lot of the time my art is driven by the process involved, and it's something that I enjoy a lot. So it brings me a lot of satisfaction. I think critically, it's more about like just maybe not doing things for myself as much as I probably should, maybe, but just finding time to get back to like that more experimental side.
I think the two sides of that question. So for me, I spend so much time in this Photoshop brain of like bringing everything to this level of like quality for print that maybe is too fine a point. Like I don't need to put too fine a point on it, and I want to get back to like just like drawing for fun as a daily practice, which is something I really miss. And I feel like I used to have a lot more people around me like drawing all the time. And I don't know, we have a studio, so I shouldn't say that. We have people drawing here all the time who come in as members. But yeah, I think something I like about my work is that I do keep making it. So that feels really good to me. It's always a really good resource for me to have. So
Thank you for sharing that. Final question. How can people support you all? As we know, like pandemic has made it rough on like artists, bookstores, small businesses, like all of us really. How can folks support you and support the artists you also represent?
I think like two ways is one is like, you know, if you're interested in buying this kind of content, obviously, but also coming and if you're comfortable like participating in person as a member. We try to keep everything as affordable as humanly possible, and just like I think the more life comes into the space through people, the more it is sustained. And that was something like for a while over the pandemic, we totally shut down. And it was just like me and Sana in here doing our thing, but just doesn't feel right. Like we need the community to stay connected. And I really hope that we can just maintain the space to function in that way for people. I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, totally. Because printmaking and like what we all loved about it when we first had printmaking classes in school, we loved that everyone would just be working on their thing next to everyone else for so long. So you really build community, and it's such a process heavy and time consuming thing that we don't want to like build up all these resources and then just hog them for ourselves. We really want to like share them and have other people use them. And it's like that's the way the space keeps going, like Max said. And
yeah, it's like we couldn't really sustain this on our own, and that's just kind of the community of a print shop, and you know, working toward just bringing more people into the fold and all of that.
Well, Max and Sanat, thank you so much for sharing your time, sharing your space, sharing your work and the works of others. Really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
We're
much.
really, really, truly honored. Like SF Zine Fest has been like one of the most pivotal things that gave us a platform to begin with. And in a lot of ways, we probably wouldn't be where we are without that. So
Thank you. Yeah, we're happy to have you as not just our guest of honor, but also a very important part of our community, the zine community in the Bay Area as well. And that's why we were like, oh, we're going to go with Tiny Splendor this year. We need to show
thank
appreciation.
you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to sharing my screen just to show more. And thank you both. All right, here are some upcoming Cyberfest Rebooted events. As I mentioned, tomorrow is our last day. Tomorrow we will have exhibitors show and tell for Group H from 11 to 12:15. Then we have another in-person bookbinding workshop at Rock, Paper, Scissors Collective. That one is also all filled up, but it's from 1 to 3. Those are in person. We are recording them. They are not being broadcast live. And then, of course, please remember to join us for our closing party hangout from 4 to 5. We'd love to see our volunteers and exhibitors and invited guests and our guest of honor all kind of mingle. That's going to be a lot of fun. Also, as we mentioned earlier, we are collaborating with Bay Area bookstores. They are Silver Sprocket, Mission Comics and Art, and Dog-Eared Castro, which is soon to be Fabulosa. They're basically selling zines from exhibitors who are part of SF Zine Fest. Here are some photos. The first one on the left is from Dog-Eared Castro, the one in the middle, where they're trying to get a bigger table now as well, because we dropped off more zines at Silver Sprocket, and a few from Mission Comics as well. And again, you can check out sfzinefest.org to see where a particular exhibitor's zines are being sold. And of course, support San Francisco Zine Fest. We usually, the way we have any kind of income to put together the entire festival is by doing tabling fees for in-person fests. And of course, without the in-person element of it, we're not having tabling fees, and our fests are always free. So we need to figure out how to pay all of our wonderful folks, including guests of honor, ASL interpreters, and just workshop facilitators, all these other things that go into making San Francisco Zine Fest what it is. So we love your support. You can donate, or you can buy apparel as well. All of these links are on our website at sfzinefest.org. The designs for it, and this year is our 20th anniversary. There's so much stuff that's happening. This year is our 20th anniversary, and the design you see here was done by Sana Khan, who's part of our Tiny Splendor, who you just got to talk to and meet. I'm going to take a look at the Q&A. Lots of thanks to Sana and Max in the YouTube chat. And of course, by San Francisco Zine Fest merch. As always, our guest of honor does the designs for the festival for that year. And these are Riso prints that were, again, printed by Tiny Splendors. There are 20 copies that you can buy in our store. Stickers are also out. And of course, t-shirts as well. So yes, please check us out. at sfzinefest.org and support the design and the festival this year. We'd also like to thank Pro Bono ASL's Ashley Rodriguez and Selena Flowers. Thank you so much for interpreting this evening or this afternoon. And well, I guess that's about it. This is San Francisco Zine Fest 2021, Cyberfest rebooted. You just were able to witness and take part in our guest of honor Q&A with Tiny Splendor.